Something huge is moving toward you. And when I say huge, I don't mean a tiny change. I don't mean a random coincidence that you notice for 5 seconds and then forget about. I'm talking about something that could make you stop in the middle of your day and say, wait, this is actually happening. Because the energy around you right now feels completely different. Something that has been delayed is beginning to move. Something that has been hidden is beginning to reveal itself. And something you thought might never happen again could suddenly become possible. So before we go any further, I want you to do something. Take one deep breath. Forget about what happened yesterday. Forget about what someone told you. Forget about the disappointment you've been carrying. And just allow yourself to hear this message. Because if you found this reading at exactly this moment, there may be something here that your heart has been waiting to hear. But stay until the end. Because the final message connects everything together. And honestly, I don't think the biggest part of this reading is what is happening. I think the biggest part is why it is happening now. The first energy coming through is movement. For a while, your life may have felt like it was standing still. You may have been waiting for a person to make a decision, waiting for a message, waiting for an opportunity, waiting for your finances to improve, waiting for your personal life to finally feel peaceful, or maybe you couldn't even explain what you were waiting for. You simply had this strange feeling that something was supposed to happen, and yet nothing. Silence, delay, confusion, almost like life was holding its breath. But I want you to hear this clearly. Silence does not always mean nothing is happening. Sometimes the biggest changes begin where you cannot see them. Something has been rearranging itself behind the scenes, and now that energy is beginning to surface. The Wheel of Fortune energy from your original reading represents exactly that kind of turning point, a cycle that is shifting and moving into a new position. You may not know exactly what the change will look like yet, but you may already be feeling it. You feel different. Your priorities are changing. Certain people don't feel as important anymore. Certain situations that once consumed your thoughts are beginning to lose their power. And you may suddenly have this feeling, I don't think I'm meant to stay here anymore. That feeling is important because you are not simply leaving something. You are making room. And that's where this reading gets interesting. There is a strong message here about something returning to movement. For some of you, this could be a conversation, a text, a phone call, a job opportunity, a financial opening, a creative project, or even a person you thought had completely disappeared from your life. But don't immediately assume this means you are going backward. Sometimes something returns because you need closure. Sometimes it returns because you are finally ready to experience it differently. And sometimes it returns because the timing is finally right. The important thing is not to chase it. Let it reveal itself. Because what is meant to reach you will not require you to destroy your peace just to receive it. And here's the part I really want you to remember. You don't have to force the door open. If the door belongs to your next chapter, it will begin opening naturally. The next energy is incredibly beautiful. It is the energy of hope after difficulty. You may have gone through a period where you genuinely wondered, am I ever going to feel like myself again? Maybe you became emotionally exhausted. Maybe you stopped getting excited about things. Maybe you became tired of explaining yourself. Maybe you started expecting disappointment before anything even happened. But something has changed. You have been healing, quietly, slowly. Maybe you haven't noticed because healing rarely announces itself. It doesn't always arrive with some dramatic breakthrough. Sometimes healing looks like waking up and realizing you didn't think about that person yesterday. Sometimes it looks like saying no without feeling guilty. Sometimes it looks like being alone without feeling abandoned. Sometimes it looks like choosing yourself without needing anyone to understand why. And I feel that this is one of the biggest reasons your next chapter is opening. You became strong enough to receive what you once only prayed for. And that's powerful. Because sometimes we ask for a new life while still emotionally attached to the old one. But you have been releasing, you have been learning, you have been changing. And now life can finally meet the new version of you. Now this is where I want you to pay attention, because the energy shift. Something had to break, something had to end, something had to be removed. And I know that may sound uncomfortable, but the tower energy in the original reading points toward an unstable structure being cleared so something stronger can be built. So if something suddenly collapsed in your life, if someone walked away, if a plan failed, if you lost something you thought you needed, please don't automatically assume that you were being punished. What if you were being redirected? What if that situation could never have followed you into the life you're moving toward? What if the ending was actually protection? Sometimes life has to remove what we refuse to release, and yes, it can hurt, it can feel unfair, it can make you question everything. But later, you may look back and say, thank goodness that didn't work out. And I feel like some of you are much closer to that realization than you think. Now we get to one of the strongest parts of the reading. The energy coming through is not pointing toward one isolated blessing. It feels like several areas of your life are beginning to realign together. There is an energy of happiness, an emotional beginning, and completion. That means something you've been waiting for could arrive at the same time another chapter finally closes. Imagine finally receiving the answer you've been waiting for, while simultaneously realizing you no longer need the thing you were waiting for. That's the kind of transformation I'm sensing. Your life may begin feeling lighter, your confidence may return, your motivation may come back, people may begin noticing you differently. Something you have been working on privately may finally receive attention. And this could be anything: a career goal, a creative project, a personal transformation, your appearance, your confidence, your social life, even your emotional energy. You may suddenly notice people are treating you differently because you are carrying yourself differently. And that shift is already beginning. There is another strong communication energy around this reading. Something may come through unexpectedly: a message, a call, an invitation, a conversation. And here's the interesting part. You may initially think it's insignificant. You may even consider ignoring it. But something about it could lead somewhere much bigger. So during this period, don't completely disappear from the world. Stay available, stay aware, pay attention. If someone invites you somewhere, consider going. If an opportunity appears, investigate it. If someone gives you advice that unexpectedly resonates, remember it. Because the thing that changes your life may not look important when it first arrives. It may look ordinary, and then, weeks later, you realize that was the moment everything changed. There is also an energy of another person being connected to your upcoming shift. For some of you, this is someone already around you. For others, it may be someone new. And for some, it may even be someone from your past returning with a completely different energy. But don't focus too much on who the person is. Focus on what they bring. Do they bring peace, clarity, support, opportunity, honesty, growth? Because the next chapter of your life is not supposed to be built around confusion. You have already experienced enough uncertainty. You are moving toward relationships and connections where you don't have to constantly wonder where you stand. And if someone from the past does return, listen carefully to your intuition. Don't let nostalgia make the decision for you. Ask yourself, does this person belong to who I am now or only to who I used to be? That one question could save you from repeating an old cycle. Some of you may have noticed repeating numbers recently. Maybe you're seeing the same number on the clock. Maybe you keep noticing patterns. Maybe you keep hearing the same phrase from completely different people. Maybe you've been thinking about something and then suddenly see it everywhere. Whether you view these as spiritual signs or simply meaningful reminders, the important thing is what they make you feel. They make you pay attention. And right now, attention is important because your intuition is trying to get louder than your fear. Your fear says nothing will change. Your intuition says something is coming. Your fear says don't get your hopes up. Your intuition says stay open. And this reading is asking you to listen carefully to that quieter voice. Now here's your major hook, because this is the part I would not skip. The energy coming through is fast, very fast. Something that has been delayed could suddenly accelerate. You may have become so accustomed to waiting that when things finally begin moving, you won't know how to process how quickly they happen. One thing could trigger another. A conversation leads to an opportunity. An opportunity leads to a new connection. A new connection leads to an entirely different direction. And suddenly you're looking around thinking, how did my life change this much in such a short amount of time? That's why you need to be ready, not desperate, not anxious, ready. There is a difference. Desperation tries to control the outcome. Readiness simply says, if the door opens, I'm willing to walk through it, and I want to prepare you for something. Right before a major transition, things can feel strange. You may feel uncertain. You may question yourself. You may feel like you're between two versions of your life. The old version doesn't fit anymore, but the new version hasn't fully arrived. That middle space can be uncomfortable. But don't mistake uncertainty for failure. Sometimes uncertainty simply means you're standing at the edge of something new. You don't need the entire staircase. You only need the next step. So don't make a permanent decision based on a temporary feeling. Don't give up because today feels confusing. And don't assume that because you cannot see the outcome, there is no outcome. Some things are developing quietly. There is one message I feel strongly about. You may believe you are late. Maybe you compare yourself to people around you. Someone got married. Someone bought a house. Someone became successful. Someone found love. Someone started a business. Someone seems to have everything figured out. And you wonder, when is it going to be my turn? But your journey is not a race. You are not behind, you are not forgotten, and you are not being punished because your timeline looks different. Some things take longer because they are changing you while they are coming towards you. You are becoming the person who can hold the blessing. And when it finally arrives, you won't be the same person who asked for it. The final energy is about awakening, a realization, a moment when everything suddenly makes sense. You may look backward and understand why certain people had to leave, why certain plans failed, why you experienced certain delays, why you had to spend time alone, why you had to become stronger. And you may finally realize nothing was wasted. Not the heartbreak, not the waiting, not the rejection, not the lonely nights, not the moments when you thought you had failed. They all taught you something, and now you're taking that wisdom into a completely different chapter. So if you've been waiting for something, keep your heart open. If you've been healing, keep going. If you've been working quietly, don't stop now. If something recently ended, don't assume it was the end of your story. And if something suddenly appears, don't dismiss it simply because it doesn't look dramatic. Your next chapter may begin with something incredibly ordinary. A message, a conversation, a yes, a meeting, a decision, a door, and then everything changes. You may not see the whole picture today, but you don't need to. You only need to trust yourself enough to take the next step. Because the energy around you is not the energy of someone whose story is ending. It is the energy of someone whose life is turning a corner. And when you finally reach that moment, when the opportunity arrives, when the person speaks, when the answer comes, when the door finally opens, I want you to remember how many times you almost gave up. Because you were closer than you knew. You were not forgotten. You were not invisible. You were not stuck forever. You were simply in the middle of a transition. And now, the waiting is beginning to break. Something is moving. Something is approaching. Something is changing. And the most beautiful part is this. You don't have to chase it. You don't have to force it. You don't have to become someone else to deserve it. Just stay open. Stay aware. Keep moving. And let life surprise you. Because the next chapter may be far bigger than the one you thought you were waiting for. And when it arrives, you may finally understand why everything had to happen exactly the way it did.